I paid his school fees. I cooked, cleaned, worked 2 jobs, just so he could become a doctor. And the moment he graduated, he left me for a richer woman. But you know what? Life doesn't forget betrayal. And karma? Karma took its sweet time. This is a true story of how a woman lost everything, only to rise higher than she ever imagined. Grab your popcorn. You don't want to miss this. The smell of antiseptic filled the air as Emma Carter adjusted her nurse's badge and hurried down the hospital corridor. It was already 7:50 a.m., and her shift started at 8. She had barely slept the night before. Again, "Morning, Emma." Her colleague Rachel smiled as they crossed paths. "Morning." Emma forced a smile. She was exhausted, but she didn't complain. She never did. Emma had been a nurse for 5 years now. She was only 28, but she carried herself like someone older. Life had been tough, and she learned early on that nobody was coming to save her. After a long shift that evening, Emma took a walk to the local university cafeteria. Her best friend Lisa had invited her to a study group gathering. She wasn't a student anymore, but she needed the distraction. That was the night she met David Brooks. David had a charming smile and a deep voice. He was tall, confident, and had the kind of easy laughter that drew people in. He was studying medicine and was in his second year. Emma didn't know why, but the moment he spoke to her, she felt something stir inside her. "So you're Lisa's friend?" David asked, offering her a chair beside him. "Yeah, Emma, I'm a nurse at County General," she replied shyly. "A nurse?" His eyes lit up. "That's amazing. That must be hard work." "It is," she said with a small laugh. "But I love it." He leaned in slightly. "I want to be a doctor. A good one. People like you inspire me, honestly." That one sentence made Emma's heart flutter. They kept talking through the evening. David told her he came from a struggling home. His father had passed away when he was 12, and his mom did odd jobs to support the family. He was working part-time in a bookstore to survive while studying. "I'm always broke," he joked. "But hey, one day I'll wear that white coat and take care of my mom, and maybe someone special too." Emma smiled, blushing a little. She didn't know it yet, but that night was the beginning of something that would change her life forever. A few months later, David and Emma had started dating. He was sweet, attentive, and always found time to call her even with his classes and job. Emma began to fall for him deeply. One rainy evening, they sat together in her small apartment, eating noodles and watching TV. David turned to her. Can I tell you something?" "Of course. I got a notice from school. If I don't pay the semester's fees by next month, I'll be deregistered." Emma's heart dropped. "Oh no, how much is it?" $1, $200. I've tried everything. I even asked my uncle, but he said he couldn't help. I feel so stupid even telling you this." She looked at him, her chest tightening. "David, I have some money saved up. I was keeping it for a rainy day. But maybe this is it." "No, Emma, no. I didn't tell you so you'd offer. Please don't feel like you have to." "I want to help," she interrupted. "You deserve this. You're brilliant. And we're in this together, right?" David looked at her for a long time, then pulled her into a hug. "I don't know what I did to deserve you," he whispered. From that moment on, Emma became more than a girlfriend. She became David's provider, cheerleader, and safety net. She took extra night shifts, canceled her plans, and watched her savings drain semester after semester. Every time tuition came up, she paid without complaint. One night, while they sat together in the kitchen, he reached across the table and took her hands. "Emma, when I become a doctor, I swear you'll never have to work again." She smiled. "I'm not doing this so you'll repay me. I just want to see you succeed." "No, listen to me," he said seriously. "I'm going to marry you. I'm going to build you the life you deserve. I'll never forget everything you're doing for me." Emma felt tears prick her eyes. In that moment, it all felt worth it. 2 years later, David was nearing the end of medical school. Emma had moved into a slightly larger apartment to give him space to study. She even bought him a second-hand laptop with her bonus money. They were deeply in love, or so she believed. One evening, while they were doing laundry together, David suddenly said, "Let's get married next month." Emma stared at him. "Are you serious?" "Yeah," he grinned. "I've waited long enough. Let's just do a small court wedding for now. We'll have the big celebration later." Emma laughed, hugging him tightly. "Yes, of course, yes." The wedding. It was a quiet ceremony. Just a few friends and no family. David claimed his mother couldn't afford to come. Emma paid for everything. The rings, the marriage license, the cheap hotel dinner afterward. But she didn't mind. She was happy. She posted a picture online captioned, "From nurse to wife. Love is worth every sacrifice." Weeks passed. David graduated. The graduation day was everything Emma had imagined. She wore a new dress she saved up for and watched proudly as David walked the stage in his medical gown. After the ceremony, he pulled her aside. "You were right beside me through it all," he said, his voice full of emotion. "You gave me everything. I'll never forget this." Emma kissed him, tears in her eyes. "Now we build our future," she said. But something had changed. David began to act distant. He spent more time away. He started going out networking with hospital recruiters. He came home late without explanation. "Where were you?" Emma asked one night. "Just out with a few people from the hospital." "Relax, Em. Don't be paranoid." "I'm not. I just miss us." David sighed and looked at his phone. "I'm tired, Emma. Can we not do this tonight?" She stared at him, wondering where the man she married had gone. 3 weeks later, David came home and stood silently in the doorway. Emma was making dinner. "Can we talk?" he said quietly. She turned around, smiling. "Of course. I've accepted a job offer. In another city." She froze. "Okay, when do we move?" He looked down. "No, Emma. I'm going alone." The silence was deafening. "What are you saying, David?" "I need to be honest with you. I've been feeling trapped. I need time to figure out who I am without you." Emma dropped the spoon in her hand. "You can't be serious. After everything? After I paid your fees, supported you, married you." "I didn't ask you to do all that," he snapped. Tears welled up in her eyes. "So that's it? You used me and now you're done." David looked away. "I never meant to hurt you." "But you are," she screamed. "You are killing me, David." He walked out, leaving her sobbing in the kitchen, surrounded by the very life she helped him build. It had been 3 days since David dropped the bombshell. Emma hadn't eaten. Her eyes were red, and her voice hoarse from crying. Her friends tried to call, but she ignored everyone. She just couldn't believe it. This was the man she sacrificed her life for, the one who promised her forever. On the 4th day, David came back. He didn't knock. He still had a key. She was on the couch, staring at the ceiling. "I came to get my things," he said, without emotion. Emma didn't respond. David walked past her and started gathering his clothes, books, and shoes. Every move he made was like a knife in her chest. "You could at least look at me," he said. Emma slowly turned her head. "I looked at you for 5 years, David, and all I saw was my future. You looked at me and saw a stepping stone." "That's not true." "Then what is?" she snapped. "Tell me what I did to deserve this." He didn't answer. As he turned to leave, she said quietly, "One day, you'll remember this moment and wish you never walked away." David paused. "I hope you find peace, Emma." And then he left, just like that. Weeks passed. Emma tried to get back to work, but nothing felt right. Every patient reminded her of David's dream, the dream she paid for. She didn't cry anymore. She just felt empty. One evening, she opened her laptop and saw a photo pop up on her Facebook feed. David smiling beside a well-dressed woman at a medical gala. The caption read, "So proud of my man, future chief resident. #power couple." Emma's hands trembled. The woman was Claire West, the wealthy hospital administrator. Emma had seen her once during David's internship. Now it all made sense. The late nights, the sudden job offer, the cold goodbye. It wasn't confusion. It was a replacement. Emma couldn't take it anymore. She didn't go to work. She ignored calls from her boss. She sat in bed all day, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of their relationship like a bad movie. Her best friend Lisa showed up at her door. "Emma, open up. You haven't answered my texts." Emma finally opened the door, eyes hollow. "Oh my God, you look like you haven't slept in days," Lisa said, hugging her tightly. "I feel like I'm dying, Lisa." They sat on the couch, and Emma broke down. "I gave him everything. My time, my youth, my money, and he left me for someone richer." Lisa held her hand. "He's trash, Emma, the worst kind. But you're not done. You still have your life." "I don't want it," Emma whispered. "I don't even know who I am anymore." Lisa stayed the night. She cleaned the apartment, cooked, and booked an appointment with a therapist for Emma. A few weeks later, Emma started going to therapy. The first few sessions were hard. She cried a lot. "I feel stupid," she told her therapist. "I should have seen the signs." The therapist nodded kindly. "You weren't stupid. You were in love. Love makes us hope, even when reality screams something else." Emma slowly started putting herself back together. She returned to work part-time. The nurses and patients welcomed her warmly. One afternoon, she was taking care of an elderly man who grabbed her hand gently and said, "Your heart is tired, child. I see it in your eyes. But tired hearts still beat, and they can love again when they're ready." His words stuck with her. One evening, she walked past a bookstore. She paused. Inside, a small sign read, "Evening classes, hospital management for beginners." Something clicked. That night she enrolled. Meanwhile, David was thriving in public. But behind closed doors, things were falling apart. Claire was controlling. She had helped him get the job, but now she made all the decisions. She treated him like a trophy. "You should wear this tie," she'd say. "It looks better on camera." "I need to stay late tonight. Board dinner," she'd inform him. Not ask. David felt like a guest in his own life. Worse, the nurses whispered behind his back. Rumors were spreading that he used his ex to get through school. "Gold digger with a stethoscope," one resident joked. David laughed with them, but his eyes didn't. One night, Claire's tone changed. "David, I saw your phone. Who is Edot Carter, and why did she text you?" "It's nothing," he said. "She's just someone from my past." Be sure she stays there. That was the moment he realized he wasn't in love. He was owned, back in Emma's world. She was changing, stronger, wiser, still healing, but now with purpose. She began acing her classes. Her instructors noticed her potential and recommended her for a hospital admin trainee role. Emma finally looked in the mirror and saw someone she hadn't seen in a long time. Herself, not someone's wife, not a helper. Just Emma Carter, brilliant, brave, and rebuilding. 6 months had passed. Emma was no longer the broken woman lying in bed, begging for answers. She was now the woman sitting at the front row of a hospital management training seminar, taking notes with a clear mind and a steady hand. She wasn't healed, not completely, but she was learning how to breathe again. One day after class, a tall, older man approached her as everyone was leaving. "Miss Carter?" "Yes, sir. I'm Mr. Anderson. I've been observing you these past few weeks. You have a sharp mind. Ever thought about applying for the management training program at Hopefield Hospital?" Emma blinked. "Hopefield? That's one of the top hospitals in the state." He smiled. "Exactly why you should apply." She hesitated. I don't know if I'm ready." "You're more than ready," he said. "Some people are born to lead. You just forgot that for a while." His words stayed with her all night. The next week, she applied. And 1 month later, she got the job. Emma walked into Hopefield Hospital on her first day wearing a navy blue suit, heels, and a small smile. It wasn't just a new job. It was a new beginning. Meanwhile, David was slowly discovering that success meant nothing if you had to lie to get there. Claire had introduced him to big donors and powerful people. But every event was staged. Every word had to be approved. "You talk too much about the past," she scolded one day. "Nobody needs to know you were poor. It's not a good look. But it's my story. It's your burden, not your brand. David felt sick. Worse still, Claire was no longer sweet. She was cold, controlling, dismissive. She made it clear, I gave you this life. I can take it back. One night, David came home early and overheard her on a phone call. I don't love him. He was just useful. He's a smart face to parade. But honestly, he bores me. David stood in the hallway, frozen. His chest tightened. He walked into the bathroom, stared at his reflection, and whispered, What have I done? Back in Emma's world. She was thriving. She built friendships with her colleagues. Patients respected her. Doctors consulted her. Even the board noticed her calm confidence and quick thinking. Mr. Anderson became her mentor, often inviting her into high-level meetings just to listen and learn. You see, he told her one day, leadership is not about power. It's about service. You already understand that. One evening, after work, she went to a quiet cafe and wrote something in her journal. He broke me, yes, but he didn't destroy me. I'm still here, and I'm rising. Things began to fall apart quickly for David. First, a nurse at the hospital filed a report. David had signed off on a prescription that had an error. The patient got sick but survived. The hospital launched a quiet internal investigation. Then, someone came forward with screenshots, a group chat from 2 years ago where David had bragged about how he played his cards right and how his ex paid for the whole ride. The post went viral within the hospital. David tried to deny it. That's not my account, he lied. But it was. Claire called him into her office. Do you know what this looks like? She snapped. I said it years ago. I was stupid. It was a joke. There's nothing funny about manipulation, and people are watching now. Claire, please. Don't beg, she snapped. It's pathetic. You're suspended for now. HR will follow up. David felt the floor drop beneath him. He left the office without a word. For the first time in his adult life, he had nowhere to go. That evening, he scrolled through his old messages and saw Emma's name. He hadn't spoken to her in months, but his hands moved before his pride could stop him. David, Emma, I know I don't deserve it, but can we talk? He waited. No reply. Meanwhile, Emma was in a hospital meeting room, reviewing patient feedback reports when Mr. Anderson walked in. Emma, I need you to sit in on a disciplinary review next week. A former staff member is applying for reinstatement. I'd like you to observe. Emma nodded. Sure. What's his name? She asked casually. Mr. Anderson checked his tablet. David Brooks. Emma froze. For a second, the room went silent in her head. Her heart thumped. She gave a small nod. I'll be there. A week later, Emma walked into the review boardroom, wearing a white blouse and dark trousers. Her hair was tied back neatly. She looked calm, strong. David was already sitting there. When he looked up and saw her, his mouth dropped open. Emma? She didn't speak. She sat across from him, flipped open the file, and began reading the report silently with the others. David looked down, ashamed. He knew he didn't deserve a second chance. But he also knew he'd just come face to face with the only person who had ever truly believed in him. David started whispering to himself as Emma leaves the room. She became everything I said she'd never be without me. The review meeting ended quietly. The panel asked questions. David answered carefully, avoiding eye contact with Emma. He kept glancing at her, hoping for some sign, pity, warmth, maybe even a smile. But Emma's face was blank, professional. When the session ended, Mr. Anderson looked at Emma. What's your take? She took a moment. He's educated. He's skilled. But what concerns me is character. He's lost the trust of colleagues, and there's still a lot of pain around his past behavior. David finally spoke. Emma, please, can I speak to you alone? Mr. Anderson raised an eyebrow. Emma gave a short nod. They stepped into a quiet hallway. David looked different. Not the confident, polished man from a year ago, but smaller, drained, almost hollow. Emma, he began, I never thought we'd meet like this. I did, she replied coldly. I always knew one day life would bring us back to the same table. But I didn't expect you'd be the one begging for a seat. David swallowed hard. I made mistakes. Big ones. I see that now. Emma didn't respond. She folded her arms. He continued. Claire left. She dropped me the moment the scandal hit. She said I was a liability. Everything's gone. My job. My name. I don't even have peace. And you think I can give you that? She asked. I don't know, he admitted. But I need you to know I never forgot you. I never stopped regretting what I did. You were the best part of my life, Emma. Emma stared at him for a long time. Her voice was soft but steady. You know the funny part, David? I used to dream of this moment. I thought if I saw you again, I'd cry, maybe even forgive you. But now that I'm here, she paused. I feel nothing. David blinked. Nothing. No hatred. No love. Just clarity. You were never the man I thought you were. And I was never the weak woman you assumed I'd always be. He looked down. Do you think I deserve another chance? She smiled just a little. Not from me. But maybe life will give you one. Eventually. She turned to walk away. His voice cracked behind her. Emma, I'm sorry. She didn't look back. I know, she said, disappearing down the corridor. Later that week, the review panel decided not to reinstate David fully. Instead, they approved a 1-year mandatory probation in rural community service. No city hospital could employ him until he completed it. Mr. Anderson asked Emma, Are you okay with that recommendation? She replied, It's fair. Let the man who once thought he was too good for struggle go back to where he came from. Sparkle's Chapter 8, Confrontation. It had been 3 weeks since the panel. Emma hadn't thought much about David since. She was busy leading a new pilot program at Hopefield, mentoring junior nurses, and preparing for a healthcare conference where she'd speak for the first time. One evening, she was walking to her car when she saw someone waiting near it. David. Again. He looked thinner, more worn out. What now? She asked calmly. He raised his hands. I'm not here to beg. I need to ask something. She sighed. Go on. He looked at her with sad, desperate eyes. Was any of it real? Did you ever truly love me? She didn't hesitate. Yes, every bit of it was real. That's what makes your betrayal worse. His shoulders dropped. I wish I could go back. You can't, she said, but you can learn. And maybe next time, if there's a next time, you won't destroy someone who builds you up. He nodded slowly. You look strong. I am. You're glowing, he added. She smiled genuinely this time. That's what healing does. There was silence for a moment. David finally said, I guess this is goodbye. She turned to unlock her car. It already was. He watched her drive away, the taillights fading into the night. Elsewhere, David boarded a bus heading to a rural town, his name tarnished, his reputation broken, and his path now harder than ever. The once proud doctor was now just a man in need of redemption. Meanwhile, Emma stood on stage at the state healthcare conference, dressed in a white blouse and black slacks. Her speech was about resilience in the nursing profession. At the end, she said, Sometimes we give everything to people who give us nothing in return, but those losses are not the end. They're the beginning of something greater. I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor, and I built my crown from the rubble they left behind. The crowd stood and clapped. Tears welled in her eyes, not from sadness, but from pride. Emma had made it, not despite the pain, but through it. David in a small rural clinic, wiping sweat from his brow, being humbled by the reality he once tried to escape. Emma standing in the spotlight, confident, surrounded by peers, smiling as if to say, Karma doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just waits. A month had passed since David was sent to the rural clinic. Emma hadn't thought much about him anymore. She was too busy, mentoring nurses, working with a hospital board, even appearing on a podcast about women in healthcare leadership. Her story was starting to inspire others. But then she received a letter. It was from the Medical Ethics Council. Inside was a formal request. As the panel member most directly affected by Dr. Brooks' misconduct and reputation breach, You are being offered the right to submit a final impact statement that will determine whether his license is permanently revoked after probation. Emma froze. It was in her hands now. With one letter, she could end his career forever. She sat with the letter on her desk for hours. She didn't eat. She didn't move. Her phone buzzed. It was Lisa. "You okay?" Lisa asked when Emma answered. "I have the chance to ruin him," Emma said softly. "Well, after what he did, don't you deserve that?" "I do," Emma replied. "But is that who I want to become?" That night, Emma sat on her balcony with a cup of tea, staring at the stars. She whispered aloud, "He tore me down, but I rose again, stronger." She thought about the girl she used to be, naive, hopeful, desperate for love, and the woman she was now, wise, steady, no longer chasing closure because she'd already found it in herself. The next morning, she wrote a one-page letter. "Forgiveness doesn't mean I've forgotten. It means I choose peace over poison. Let him serve. Let him work. Let life teach him what I already learned the hard way." She submitted it. Meanwhile, in a dusty rural town, David was treating patients under harsh conditions. No electricity, no staff, long lines, children coughing in waiting rooms, elderly patients walking miles to reach the clinic. He worked 12-hour days for barely any pay. It was the hardest thing he'd ever done, but slowly something shifted. He began to listen more. He learned how to speak gently, to care not just with medicine, but with kindness. One evening, he sat alone and whispered, "She was right. I had everything, and I lost it not because of her, but because of who I was." 1 year later, Emma stood backstage at a black-tie healthcare gala. She was about to receive the Excellence in Leadership Award, the first nurse-turned-manager to ever win it. As she adjusted her dress, Mr. Anderson came up beside her. "Emma," he said warmly, "there's someone here who wants to speak with you. I told him I'd ask first." Emma looked up. "Who?" "David Brooks." Emma blinked. "He's here." Mr. Anderson nodded. "He's not dressed for the gala. He's standing outside." Said he didn't come for the ceremony, just to say something. Emma sighed. Part of her wanted to walk away, but the stronger part, the healed part, wanted to hear him out. She walked outside. David was standing in the shadows, wearing a simple button-up shirt and slacks. He looked nervous. "I heard you're receiving the award," he said. Emma gave a small nod. "I am. You deserve it." "Thank you." There was silence between them for a long moment. David finally spoke. "I've changed. The past year, it broke me, but it also built me. I wanted to say thank you for not destroying me when you had the chance." Emma looked at him. For the first time, she truly saw the man he had become. Not the one who hurt her, but the one who had been humbled. "I didn't forgive you for you," she said softly. "I forgave you for me." He nodded. "Can I ever repay you?" he asked. She smiled. "You already did. You lived through what I survived." David swallowed hard, emotion brimming in his eyes. "Goodbye, Emma." "Goodbye, David." He walked away, head low, shoulders squared, not broken, but changed. Inside the gala, Emma stepped onto the stage, the spotlight bright on her face. The applause was loud, but her heart was quiet, peaceful. She took the microphone. "This award is for anyone who was ever used, abandoned, or underestimated. Your pain does not define your future. What you do after it does. I was broken, but I did not stay broken. I built a life out of the very ruins someone tried to leave me in. And today, I stand not as a victim, but as a voice." The room erupted in applause. Emma, standing tall, smiling, surrounded by love, purpose, and a future she built on her own. David, walking down a dusty road, now a doctor serving those in need, not for applause, not for wealth, but because it's finally real to him. And Darrow, the end. She gave him everything. He gave her heartbreak. But in the end, she got something better, her power back. If this story touched you or reminded you of someone's journey, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. because we've got more real-life stories of betrayal, revenge, and redemption coming every single week. Remember, the best revenge is rebuilding your life silently and letting karma do the rest. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.